This is the best shooting guard for Record Pro-Am and NBA 2K25. Make sure to watch the end of the video to get all the information about the cap breakers to really make this build OP and exactly how it's supposed to be made. So for this, we're going to start at 6'6" for the height. We're going to go 180 pounds. And we're going to go 6'7" wingspan. This build is going to be kind of similar to last year's like real meta build in Record Pro-Am. Really the Pro-Am scene was with the 6'6" shooting guard that can shoot over people. It really was the T-Mac that was built in with that, but in time we should unlock something like that, or somebody find a jumper that's just as good. So this build is going to be able to do it all, but also really do its job really well. And of course you can adjust a few factors here, but I really think this is probably one of the better builds that I've made within the Pro-Am rec side. So we'll get into the build here. We're going to start with physicals. For your physicals, we're going to go 83 speed. We're going to go 85 agility. We're going to go 57 strength. And we're going to go 60 vertical. So for your physicals here, and now there's two kind of ways that you have to look at the shooting guard position. Your point guards, they're not really caring about anything. They're just upping the speed with ball in order to just be fast with the ball. In turn, that means their speed is going up, their agility is going up a little bit. They're not very fast. For a shooting guard who has to play on the wing, who has to guard other guards, who has to run transition, all that kind of stuff, your agility is going to have to be pretty decent, but also you run transition, you move around off ball, so your speed's going to have to be decent. Now, the level of where the speed needs to be you know, super effective is, I think, yet to be found, but I think we're in the good range here. You could maybe flip-flop these and be a little slower in defense, but a little faster on offense, but I prefer to be a little faster on defense, especially with the way that this build is going to be built out. Your strength, it just goes up because of some of the other stuff that we're doing. And vertical will be important when we go through the finishing aspect, and you'll see kind of how all this ties together. So with that, we will go to finishing here. For your close shot, we're going to go to a 70. For driving layups, it's going to be a 71. Your driving dunk's going to be a 62. Your standing dunk's going to be a 72. And your pose control is going to be a 41. So to start at the top with close shot, just to give you an idea of like why I'm doing this. Close shot, it kind of goes up with some of the other stuff. Ideally, it's not that bad to have a decent close shot if you get under the rim. Driving layup, not going to really be using this too much with this build. Layup mix master is a, you know, it seems like it's going to be a pretty crazy badge in my opinion when people really start to learn it, especially with how good Scooper was last year and things. We're not really going to be focusing on layups, things like that. If we're wide open, I'm sure we'll make it. But this build does have a high enough driving dunk to get good dunks, whether you're wide open in transition, whether you have a wide open lane drive. Now, I don't know the effectiveness of how the defensive badges are going to kind of work into here and make you miss dunks, things like that. I try to get this dunk as high as I could. It's really difficult to be able to dunk and still do some of the other things, but there are adjustments you can make. And then a big one that I really like is the stand dunk. So with Rise Up being bronze on this build, it means if we're on the break, we get under the rim against a point guard or something, we can go up. If you get called on a wing cut or a cut in general and find yourself in the paint, with you being 6'6" with a 6'7" wingspan, I feel like Rise Up's going to activate quite a bit. You have Aerial Wizard to get lobs thrown to you. I wouldn't suggest doing that a ton, but in general, this is, I think, the most effective finishing setup that you can get, really dependent upon how many like rim outs the dunks get and things like that based on defensive badges. Now for the shooting, mid-range, we're going to go with an 85. Three-pointer is going to be a 93. And your free throw is going to be a 92. So mid-range and three-pointer are kind of interconnected. You can actually lower the mid-range a little bit if you want to heighten something else up. I want to keep the mid-range to an 85 just to help us if we have to shoot a mid-range. There's not really other areas, in my opinion, that you can boost too much, but feel free to mess around with that part of it. The 93-3 is going to give us all gold badges. If you drop it lower than this, you're going to get a silver limitless. You can't really do too much more with the shooting because of the wingspan and the height. The only area that I see that you could really benefit your shooting is if you use your +1 badge upgrade and up one of these to a Hall of Fame. Now, I don't know which one. Limitless is always one that you could do. Also, set shot specialist is always one that you could do. So that's just some ideas. I like the higher mid-range, and of course with free throw, you running the break and, you know, people fouling you, you want to be able to hit your free throws. It's not It's really bad being a guard and you can't hit free throws. You lose your takeover. It's just free take when you get it. So it's good to have a good free throw. Now for playmaking, your pass accuracy, we're going to go to a 78. Your ball handle is going to go to an 86. And your speed with ball is going to go to an 81. And pass accuracy, this is in line with a lot of the point guard builds I'm seeing. A lot of them are going 78 just to get the versatile visionary to at least bronze. And again, with the guards, you got a lot of areas to put stuff. This might be a little overkill on the ball handle and speed with ball, but I think this is going to be a good, viable option to make you a threat no matter what. When you have the ball, you're going to get good ball handle animations, not the elite ones like your point guards are going to have, but you're going to have good ones. And then the speed with ball is where the cap breaker is going to come into play. So to explain the cap breaker with this build, I've kind of toyed around with everything that I could, and the only area that I could find that the cap breaker makes sense to build this around is to get a gold lightning launch on this build, which I think being 6'6" with gold lightning launch, I think your player is going to be absolutely moving with the ball. That's going to push you up to an 86 speed with ball. And so that with the shooting, you'll see with the defense in a second. I think that we're onto something here with like a really OP build that I think is going to surprise people if they play against it, how well it can kind of do everything. So the ball handle might be overkill. You go up one, you get the ankle assassin to silver. You could lower it. Again, there's some factors you could lower like mid-range, and you could up other stuff to your liking. But I like the idea of just getting it. You never know when it could activate. And so I think the playmaking is really good. So far with the build, your finishing is consistent. I think your shooting is going to be really good. I think your dribbling is going to be really good for being 6'6". And now we're going to go into defense. And this is where the build really is just going to blow you away, in my opinion, if you've stuck around this long to see this. So interior, we're going to go 56. Perimeter defense, we're going to go 92. Steal, we're going to go 91. And then for the rest, we'll just throw it in here. You can't do anything else if you did it this way. 29 offensive rebound. Your interior goes up. It doesn't really matter. You have Hall of Fame off-ball pass, which is great. You can bump cuts, things like that. Perimeter defense, insane. This is like almost on level with some of the locks. Some of them are getting Hall of Fame and Legends. It is what it is. They're not going to do everything that we can do with the shooting guard build. Gold Challenger, Gold On-Ball Menace, Gold Pick Dodger. You're going to be really in line to be in a secondary lock. And again, you still have that +1 badge that you haven't used yet. You could throw it on the three-pointer. You could throw it here on On-Ball Menace, on Challenger. I would suggest either of those two. Or we flip over to your Steal, and now you have Gold Glove, you have Gold Interceptor. This would be an area where I would really suggest maybe thinking about putting Glove to Hall of Fame. Now that badge, we'll see how good it is in this game, but having a Hall of Fame glove with all these gold badges on defense, now you have Gold Lightning Launch, you can move, you can shoot, you can dunk. Like this build really, I feel like can do it all in general when it comes to your role as a shooting guard. In Rec Pro-Am, maybe even Park, you might get away with it there. I'm not 100% sure. But in general, if this is your first shooting guard build for the year, I think you can't be too upset at any part of this. Whatever mode you go into, I feel like you have the ability to play the game. You go into Park, you're a 6'6" guard. It's not like you're tiny. You're going to be able to play D. You can shoot. You can dribble pretty well. And then if you're in Rec and Pro-Am, I think this build is going to really take people to the next level with their first builds, being able to kind of just do anything that they need, especially if you're playing a solo Rec. But even if you're with a team or with a Pro-Am team, you'll be able to do your role, play defense, do everything you need to do. So with that, we'll get into the shades of and the name of this build. So the shades of, we have Doug Christie, Derek White, and DeJounte Murray. Not too bad names. Those aren't like the superstar names you want to see, but those are good players that I feel like what we're doing. So this build is a 3-and-D 2-guard. And that'll do it for this video. Make sure to check out all my other Pro-Am builds that I have on the channel. They're all tailored to Rec or Pro-Am. It's really what I specialize in with this channel. So we're going to keep building those, release animations, things like that. But if you have a team or you're going to go play Rec, things like that, make sure to check them out. They're all built for that. If there's any adjustments you make to this build, leave a comment. And if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.